Hey there, for this video I've made what I'm calling a basic brick structure or cardboard structure building. It's a little more complicated than what I would normally do for a tutorial, but it's a custom piece and I thought I'd take the opportunity to do videos on this, seeing as I was already working on something anyway. So this is, the way I'm explaining this in the video will be as simple as possible, even though it's a little bit complicated. But it's still simple, and it's all about the illusion of brick and making something look far more complicated than it is. So I hope you get something out of this, and I hope you enjoy the video. This image is just for reference so you can see the building that I'm going for. I just used some XPS foam for the base. I started out with a base and glued it down very well with some water-based glue. I had to do the base first because this building is on an angle. This is the type of foam I use if you want to have a quick look at that. For the XPS base, it's just nice and easy to carve. But seeing as this building is on an angle, I had to do the ground first so I could get my angles for the building correct. So I'll just draw it in. I struggled with this, cutting this. I made a lot of mistakes. I had to spend a lot of time constantly repairing it. It was not child's play, but you know, it's all about fixing your mistakes more than being a master craftsman. As you can see, I've started out with the facing panels. I always start with the front doors and front windows of any building that I do, and I just draw the size that I want by using the size of a door that I'd like to start with. I use fairly thick and strong cardboard for this. I make sure that I have everything in line. It's all about getting everything lined up with your windows and doors, and if you can do that one piece at a time like this, it will work. You can lay them down and draw them up one piece at a time, or you can stand them and mark them out and then draw them in. And I just put the structure together just one panel at a time instead of trying to draw it all up and then assemble it, because I know it would be wrong if I did it that way. This centerpiece is more about support than anything else. Often you can put extra pieces in that won't be seen just so you can make your building a little bit stronger. Though you don't have to worry too much because cardboard is surprisingly very, very strong to use. Before I put a roof down, I always put supports in the top. It'll stop the building from wobbling around when I want to pick it up and move it around, which I will be doing a lot of the time during the building. I always make sure I do not glue a building down until it's done, so you can access the interior and work on it. More references. Make sure you use lots of references if you're going for a realistic building that you want to make. I've cut the windows out and try to make sure they are lined up. These are a bit rough. I should have been a little more cautious. But see these lines that I've drawn across the building on every angle? I use that to keep everything in line to make sure that the windows are at the right height all the way around, interior and exterior. It really does help keep things just at the right height and perspective, and it just keeps me in line with it, really. It's a lot of sort of fiddly mucking around with this sort of thing when you first begin to do it, but just keep in mind the windows and doors of where they should be like this, and it should fall into place pretty well when you do something. I just kept pinning this down and pinning the pieces together to make sure they fit. And then I used hot glue to glue it all quickly together, and then some corrugated pieces of cardboard from an old pizza box that I tore the top off. Pizza boxes make excellent corrugated iron. I don't know, there's something very good about the corrugations, and that cardboard just peels beautifully. Just clean it up a bit with a really hard bristle brush or something like that, or a wire brush would do. And this is the foam from the last video that I will leave a link for. It's just rolled out on XPS foam with a little tiny handmade brick roller. The building I'm going to spray black, and I'm also going to give a water-based spray to the base. I'm basically sealing the building. I always give them a spray just to make sure it's nicely sealed. And I'll also put some dirty brown black wash on this just to help give it a bit of a natural look and save having to paint it and lose all the little impressions that I've made with the roller. I didn't think this one through. I ended up having to go outside and fiddle with all this. It was pretty messy. Comes out nice though, and it's easy. I couldn't be stuffed using a paintbrush all the time, just fiddling around painting things, so I just sort of fast forward this way. That looks good. You can see it really coming together now as a nice looking building. These are now ready to go. I just glued them on. I cut each one as I did with the cardboard, just one panel at a time. Doesn't matter if it doesn't fit perfectly as long as the bricks are in line, because when the glue is dry you can just cut it with a knife to cut the windows and doors out. You want to be cautious with this though, just as neat as possible. I had to make sure I tried to be as neat as I would be normally a little rougher, but using scissors can be nerve-wracking the first time you do this. I don't know why, but scissors work really well on this foam as well. And as you can see, that is a really quick fix for making bricks. The edges, you can just use a toothpick and push them down. I just tried to even this out as much as possible, the ridge cap, I believe it's called. And with the foam, you can push it together, really just mould it with your fingers, bit by bit. Take your time with it. You could apply a little more glue and really seal it very, very well. As you can see, it's just sort of meshing it together almost, and then you can redraw in lines to give the illusion that the brick is going all the way around every single corner, and that way everything is kind of sealed together as one and not panels anymore. That's where all the little tricks come in to make something look so much better. And this is easier than doing bricks one at a time. Plus you get to do them on a really nice small scale. I think this is about a 1/32 scale. And then I'm going to go and use the brown wash again over everything on the inside of the windows and doors, everywhere it's exposed with just, what looks like light. I just want to dirty it up. It's just, I do it with everything because it just kind of seals everything into one piece. And it helps you see the full picture of what you're making when you do it this way as well. The inside is white or cream because when there's going to be windows in this, the light will shine through, and if it was dark inside, you wouldn't be able to see through the windows and they wouldn't have light shining through them. A grey dry brush. It's a very heavy dry brush with a really big brush. I just go ham on it when I do something like this. I want to cover the entire building very lightly, but it's not about having, almost no paint on the brush. It's about having a super light touch. I'm barely touching it, though the brush is loaded with paint. I could do almost the entire building with one go like this, and it'd take me a minute to get around the whole thing. As you can see, the light of the grey, it's helping pick up the brick. So when I add colour, this slightly lighter surface will help bring out the colours that I'm going to use. That's untidy there, but I'm putting a lot of trim over the entire building so you won't notice it later. I'm just going to use a red ochre and I don't know, it was like a orange. It's just, they're just brick colours. We all know what colours bricks are. We all have different coloured bricks, so it's up to you. Just use angular brush strokes so you don't go filling up all those lines that have been created when making bricks. Another really quick job. And I'm doing this a little sporadically. I'm not doing a nice even coat. It's a little heavier in spots, a little lighter in spots. So it's not about, just adding it. It's about how hard you do the brush strokes. When you do it this way, it's like a bulk way of doing individual bricks because they'll look lighter and darker just by this method. I mean, later on, you could do individual bricks to pick different colours out as you would. But this sort of heavy, light brush method is very quick and effective. That's the first reddish brick red coat done. Oh, it's a little bit wonky in a few places. It's a lot of repairing that needs to be done. Now it's just that sort of well, I think this is actually a red ochre. The first one may have been more of a brown. I don't know. It was a brick colour, that's all I know. And I'm just lightening it a little. Always go from dark to light so you can build forward. And yeah, more sort of sporadic dabbing with the brush, as you can see. But it does pick out individual bricks in bulk. And now that orangey, sort of an orange ochre, I'll call it that. And then just, again, very light. Every time I do a new layer too, I'm actually doing it lighter by hand, like the way I brush lighter as I build upward. Just so there's less and less, and it's lightening everything. And just adding highlights. Always remember when you're painting too that almost always, especially acrylic paint, will dry a different colour than when you put it on. It may dry quite a lot darker, sometimes lighter, but usually darker. So this looks quite stark and orange, but it didn't dry that colour. After that, I'm just going to use a couple of different colours, just some brown and like a creamy colour. You could use all different types if you wanted to, but I'm just going to use a couple of them and just kind of make different colours from different tones of the brown and cream. I don't want to go too silly with putting lots of different colours in the brickwork. I want to keep it, nice and sort of one colour if I can get with that. And then I just dollop it on. I usually put it on, then I'll take it away with my finger. You want to be fairly light-handed with this too. These light colours will dry stark against the reddish brick. I'm just putting some trim on this building just to finish it up for the video so it looks a little neater and nicer. I just used balsa wood for these two bigger pieces, and for the trim around the other side of the roof I used coffee stirrers. They are a little untidy, but I will fix them as I go because there's more to put on. I just stain the coffee stirrer brown and then cream paint and then put them around one piece at a time, just cut them and fitted them like I do with everything. And it's come up looking quite good so far. There's an awful lot of work to do on this though. I hope you got something out of this because it really does come up looking really nice as a brick building. And I hope you have a go at something like this. You could even do your own home. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope to see you next time.